Hey, everybody. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. Somehow we're all still here. It's Matt and Christy and Alonso. And yeah, it's just been another one of those weeks. And we're going to tell you some highlights.
We've got some news for you. We have a bunch of reviews as well. And our really great friend Tim Grierson will be joining us later on to talk about Free Guy and Respect and Coda. But first, news about movies that aren't even out yet. Shang-Chi, the new Marvel movie, opening on Labor Day weekend. The Disney CEO confirmed that it would be exclusively in theaters for the first 45 days. And then they're going to put it on
Disney Plus.
Yes. And so it's a thing that we talk about all the time in general, but the three of us specifically, we are talking about how to see things and where to see things and when to see things and how comfortable we feel about seeing things. We all have varying degrees of comfort about going to in-person screenings. It's interesting. Katie Walsh and I were joking about this with Respect. The movie Respect, they insisted that we go see it in person. And it seems like a perfectly suitable movie to see at home. And Katie's like, they had no problem getting us links to big movies when this began.
Right.
But increasingly the studios are making us go see things in person. I understand that thinking with something like F9 or A Quiet Place 2, where the communal experience is crucial to your enjoyment of it.
And the sound design.
Exactly. But seeing it in a room and yes, and the sound design, but also like Black Widow, you want to see in a big screen, but I don't think I needed to see Respect on the big screen. And if Disney wanted to give us links to Shang-Chi, they certainly could. And so Let's talk about going to the movies.
I am not at the moment. Like the last thing that I went to see was The Suicide Squad, but then, the numbers started getting crazy again with the Delta variant. Hospitals are filling up again. I have three close friends who were not like, these are not like guys who went to Provincetown Bear Week or something. They just were sort of going to restaurants and movies and like nothing crazy. And they're all vaccinated. They have all come down with COVID and not just tested positive, like sick, like hard trouble breathing, aching all over, loss of taste and smell, the whole nine. So again, Dave and I are locking down again because it's just, I'm over 50. I am not a thin person. I have things to deal with. And so it's like, I am not going to play around with this stuff if it's going to hit vaccinated people this hard.
Yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you. Like same boat, like not thin, over 50, got plenty of my own health issues already.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would get just a case of the sniffles. I think I'd be, if I were to get it, right, like pretty rough. As much as I love going to the movies, I don't think my health is worth it. And what's frustrating is to see, like, there's so many people who haven't gotten vaccinated. Like we've got this variant around, we'll talk about this later. One of the movies just got kicked back. And I have to imagine that it's because of these concerns. Like it's too soon, I believe. It's,
if
and look,
Clifford
like,
the big red dog doesn't feel comfortable in theaters, neither do I.
I mean, and look, like I was really excited to go back to the theaters, but I'm not excited about it. And part of it is I don't want to sit in a theater. Look, like I'll wear a mask when I go out. I go, if I go to the store, if I have stuff to do, if I have to go in someplace, I wear a mask all the time. To me, the ideal movie experience is not wearing a mask for 2 hours, right? Because I find myself, I'm like, all right, it makes me want the movie to be over quicker. And as much as I know that, like, we're hearing that, the director wants a theatrical experience, I don't know that the director wants that kind of theatrical experience. So
somebody on Twitter asked the question, and I wonder if it's a valid one. Would Disney have felt comfortable doing this with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings if it had had profit participants in it? Like if somebody like Scarlett Johansson or Robert Downey Jr., who, was, having to like, just coming off of all of these issues about like punting movies straight to streaming. Here's a movie where like there are no stars that could demand that kind of thing. There's no filmmakers that could demand that kind of thing. So like Disney is playing a dollar game here. I don't know. And part of me thinks that, and then part of me thinks like, are they weirdly trying to sabotage this movie? Because it seems like of all the MCU movies, this is one that's coming in with like the least recognizable IP, a character that has not been introduced in the previous films, and a character that doesn't have the traction in the comic books in the last 40 years that, you know, the Avengers or other characters have. So all of this strikes me as just like, what's happening here?
Well, the CEO of Disney referred to it as a quote unquote interesting experiment, right? Because it is not a known commodity the way everything else is. You know, let's see how it plays if we just do theatrical for 45 days. But it seems like, it's dispensable perhaps to them comparatively. And that's why they're willing to make that experiment.
I think, I don't know that I'd call it dispensable, right? Like, I think part of it is
like Black Widow, though.
Well, yes.
The way it's being treated, not the movie itself.
Right.
Yes.
I think that they're, you know, trying to probably make good with AMC. And since they just cut that deal about 45-day windows, like, okay, we're here in good faith. We're going to do this. And I think we're talking about this experiment and this particular film in the context of what's been going on with COVID and how that's affected theatrical. Because I know that we all remember when Guardians first came out, it was like, Guardians of the Galaxy, what the fuck was that? Right? Like, Guardians had been exactly the same. Like, nobody had heard of it. Nobody cared. It was like, what the hell? And they made it work. So, you know, hopefully we get something like that here. That would be terrific. But we'll see.
I've been going to screenings because I have to. I mean, I did radio. I did Film Week this past week, you know, like I have to go see Don't Breathe too. What an interesting time to release a movie called Don't Breathe about people who don't leave their house. So, you know, I had to go see Respect. I had to go see Free Guy. And so I am in pretty good shape. And
I would very highly recommend that people go to IndieWire and check out Kristen Lopez's piece, where she talked to quite a few critics, including our friend Justin Chang and Yolanda Machado, about the bind that studios are putting film critics in by forcing them. If, like Christy, you have to see this stuff. I mean, I have the privilege of being an assigning editor at TheWrap. So if it's a movie that you have to see in the theater, I have writers who do feel comfortable going and are willing to go into a screening room. And so I can say, well, then I need you to go see this. But other folks, you know, if Christy's got to go on the radio and talk about these 5 movies and they're not going to send her links for these 5 movies, then there's, you know, you're caught between a rock and a hard place.
Right. And so our friend Tim Gerson joined us this week to talk about Free Guy and Coda. Well, not Coda, that too, but Respect, because, you know, he had seen them. Like, my kid's not vaccinated yet. He begins school in a week and a half. He'll be able to get vaccinated soon, like in a couple of months, and he for sure will be. But we're all beginning school with excitement and yet
trepidation.
You know, trepidation. Yeah, I mean, he's going into middle school, so a lot of kids there are at least 12 and will have been vaccinated. Although there was a little anti-masks in school rally down in my neighborhood, down in the little plaza where they had a bunch of pro-Biden and Black Lives Matter and anti-Asian hate rallies. Now the conservative nature of Palos Verdes is revealing itself. And it's like these mercenary people who go around to different towns and they do a little rally. It's called Let Them Breathe. And then they storm the school board meeting without masks on. So the school board people had to like leave the room because like 100 people are in there with no masks on.
So it's a grift.
Right.
Nothing gets done.
Did you guys see what happened in Palm Beach County, Florida?
That they're having to shut it down already?
Yeah,
no, that's
2 days. In Florida, 2 days in, 440 kids have to quarantine now because they were not enforcing the mask thing or they weren't having a mask policy or whatever. So
I saw that in Mississippi, like 40% of the high school in this one town got it. And so now the entire district has to go virtual learning again.
So send us links again.
I mean, I totally could have seen Respect on my television. That would have been fine.
I mean, to be full disclosure, Disney did send me a link for Free Guy, but I know they aren't doing that for a lot of folks. And
they wouldn't send me one. Right?
Yeah,
they sent it for you. They wouldn't send it for me, even though I said, well, the movie phone's not going to cover it because because I'm the only critic.
And they wouldn't send me Respect either, you know, so it's very much a catch as catch can kind of situation.
So why now? You know, why? Maybe they'll change with the Delta variant. Maybe things will shift again.
Well,
Anyway.
I mean, but I think the Delta variant is why you're seeing the Venom 2 get pushed back and Clifford leave the schedule. Like, clearly it's not like they aren't aware. They know exactly what's going on. And these are calculated decisions based on what they think they can get away with and what they think will show up. I mean, Adam Very had a piece in Variety about how Disney had to release Free Guy in theaters because it was part of their Fox deal. And Fox this was part of Fox's deal with HBO. And so they couldn't just punt it to Disney Plus. They literally had no choice but to open in theaters. And then it's going to HBO. And then maybe after that, it's going to be on Disney Plus. So, again, these are money decisions that a year ago would have been made differently. And certainly the decision about sending out screening links would have been made differently. But, if you recall, like, I had to send a critic in another city to go see The New Mutants because not only were they not sending links, but all the theaters in LA were closed.
Yeah.
So like you couldn't even buy a ticket here to go see it. It was so I suspect this is all conceived in panic, and there's not a lot of good faith decisions being made right now. I hope that some of them are, like, for as much flack as Warner Brothers is getting about their whole HBO Max thing. That is looking like a smarter and smarter thing every day, as much as, like, yes, Dune is going to be a big theatrical experience. But if by the time Dune comes to theaters, we're back into like the fucking shit show we had last year, then people can see it on HBO Max.
If there are no theaters open, they can't show Dune.
Exactly.
But yeah, so in a couple of weeks, we're taking the next couple of weeks off just to end the summer with some calmness. But when we come back, it's the weekend that Shang-Chi opens. So we'll see how things shake out by then. We will talk about it in some form. I'm going to go see it the Thursday night before it opens. I'm going to go see it with Nick at our little cheeky theater.
I'm excited about it. I want to see it. I love the idea of a martial arts movie, but also an MCU movie. But right, yeah, I don't like the way this is being handled.
If we could look, like, if they had a theater that was, if they put it in a theater for the three of us, I'm in. Absolutely. Right. But, like, you're people I trust.
Can Nick come too? He'll sit in the back by himself.
Maybe. No, Nick can come. He's fine.
Thank you. Aren't you sweet?
What nightclubs has he been going to?
Right. I a little bit want to hear from, like, our audience. Like, what do you guys think? Like, would you rather us wait till all of us can see something, or do you want us to, like, grab a Tim or whoever to get something, and where are you guys on going to the theaters? Especially
should we be waiting to review stuff when it's available at home as opposed to being in theaters?
All good questions. Thank you for raising those questions. Okay. Speaking of getting vaccinated or not, Chet Hanks is at it again. Chet Hanks released some anti-vax videos, and one of them starts out where he's like super earnest and saying it's so important to get vaccinated. We all need to look out for each other. Then he's like, bitch, psych. And he's like, I ain't getting jabbed. You ain't putting no motherfucking needle in my arm. Like,
he's covered in shitty tattoos. Let's start there with the whole needle thing. Both of his parents contracted COVID.
Early days COVID.
Yes, they were early adopters. Holy crap.
Is he trying to be the biggest asshole, Chet, and take that
from the character in Weird Science?
Exactly. Take that away from Bill Paxton in Weird Science.
It's very confusing.
He is the Billy Carter of the Hanks family. I don't know. That's a dated reference. Forgive me.
I understood that. So that is happening. Other news, which is potentially exciting. Jamie Spears has agreed to step down from Britney's conservatorship, but when the time is right.
Oh,
when
really?
is the time right? I mean, I guess even him, like, acknowledging, and
when he can shred all the receipts, like, what the hell?
I mean, that's the thing. So I guess him even, like, acknowledging that there might be a day when his tyrannical rule might end is an accomplishment in itself. Oof. But if it's open-ended, then it means nothing.
And of course.
So there's that. Did you guys see that Rachel Maddow is considering leaving MSNBC?
Yes, she is. She's gotten some big dog agents there. So clearly she's out. And I suspect that what's going to happen is she's going to get, like, whatever the MSNBC version of, like, the Barbara Walters contract is, which is like, sometimes I'm on the show, sometimes I'm not on the show. Here are my specials that are all about me and my interests. And then maybe you're not going to see me for a while. But like they would be crazy to let her go because I mean, like I'm not nearly the MSNBC watcher that I was in previous years, but she's the star of that network.
It is the highest rated show on there. You know what? I bet she leaves because you know what? She does not need NBC. She does not need a traditional cable channel or network anymore. She's a brand unto herself. She's a name unto herself. And if she wanted to launch her own like podcast series or her own like multimedia cross-platform thing, people would go and they, we have some patrons. Imagine the Patreon that Rachel Maddow could amass for herself.
Well, I could see MSNBC making her an offer she can't refuse. And because obviously MSNBC, at like most cable channels, has an aging audience that will one day be gone. And if you want to reach the kids, then yes, it's all about streaming and podcasting and YouTube and whatnot. So I suspect they will figure out a way to pay her handsomely and allow her to have a foot in both. I mean, she launched a whole podcast not long ago in the last couple of years, that one about Spiro Agnew that I heard was really good. I didn't listen to it, but I'm sure they will figure out a way because it is also in MSNBC's interest to figure out what the future is as well. And so like if cable is dying on the vine and they're a cable channel, they want to be setting up the platforms for the streaming and for the podcasting and all that other stuff that's going to see them into the next 50 years.
Yeah. Speaking of hosts, Mike Richards will indeed be your Jeopardy host with Mayim Bialik doing like specials and spin-offs and stuff. So I guess that's like, the consolation prize.
Oh, such the consolation prize. This totally sounds like something that they planned from the get-go. And so like why they were wanking us around for all this time with the guest hosts and all the Twitter conversation about who do people like. Frankly, I think it would behoove them to just keep having rotating guest hosts because more people are talking about Jeopardy than usually ever do. I'm sure the ratings have probably been pretty good for all this. So it's like, rather than say like we're going to have this guy you've never heard of who has a somewhat sketchy past, in game shows come in, like it'd be like, what? We acknowledge that there is nobody who can fill the shoes of Alex Trebek. So we're going to have these cool, smart people who come in for a week, 2 weeks at a time, and we just rotate through them. And sorry about the Dr. Oz thing. We'll never do that again.
I bet, I bet before the end of the year, he gets replaced because the ratings will drop.
Or is it just that like the people who watch Jeopardy will always watch Jeopardy and they don't care? It's just such a ritual for them.
Right. Well, I mean, this is one of those cases where the show is the star, but at the same time, like if you've got the diehards who aren't going to budge no matter what, then why not rotate the host in and out? It's probably cheaper than having to pay like the whatever salary bump he's going to get from going from executive producer to executive producer / on-air host. And like, it keeps it in the public conversation in a way that this dude is not going to.
One of my first jobs in the industry was a production assistant on this show called Hosted By, where they swapped out hosts every couple of days.
What kind of show was it?
It was a talk show.
And who hosted by?
Various people. One of them was Cheech Marin.
Okay.
We brought him in for a show and his call time was like 7:30 and poor dude like walks, he's like, "You guys got any coffee?" Another one was Bobcat Goldthwait, who was super cool.
That sounds fun. So we'll have to keep an eye out for the Mike Richards era beginning. We mentioned this a little bit earlier. Venom is moving from September 24th to October 15th. I think people probably expect that there's going to be a cavalcade of movie releases kind of shuffling around here as we get into the fall season. Along those lines, though, the New York Film Festival has announced its slate. They always have very prestigious directors and very award-worthy films on their lineup. And so we have the opening night film is The Tragedy of Macbeth. Your centerpiece film in the middle is Jane Campion's The Power of the Dog. And then Pedro Almodovar's Parallel Mothers is your closing night film. So I wonder if that is a thing that will take place in person at Lincoln Center, like it has for so many years.
I actually got an email from them this week that they were not there. They are doing it all in person. Like they may have, I think they might have some press screenings that are virtual, but my understanding, if I read, this was not the best worded email. Sorry, New York Film Festival. Y'all could use some work on that one. But my understanding
wants to come to see the festival, forget about it.
My understanding from this email was that it was all going to be in person. I might have gotten that wrong.
Okay. Beanie Feldstein is going to star in a Broadway revival of Funny Girl.
Beanie Feldstein. What a beautiful,
beautiful name. I saw that the reason that was trending on Twitter this past week is because Leah Michelle was trending because people figured that she was like losing her shit to not get cast as Fanny Bryce.
Yeah, she's been pretty clear about wanting this gig for the last decade or so. So
don't rain on her parade.
Yeah, well, but so that I'm curious. I've never heard Beanie Feldstein sing, but I'm sure they wouldn't have cast her if she couldn't. There was apparently some sort of rumor going around that Oscar Isaac was going to play Nick Orenstein, but that's not the case.
He could be her dad, right?
I mean, the theater, makeup.
Okay. I mean, that's good casting. I mean, he looks kind of like Omar Sharif, right? Yeah. That's pretty good casting.
It would be unheard of in showbiz to have a young
much older man,
and a much older dude.
Yeah.
I know, but like, is she too young? Is what I mean. Like, is she like? How old is Beanie Feldstein? Like early 20s?
I don't know, but I mean, like when Streisand did it, she was pretty young, and Sidney Chaplin was not young, and it was not close to her age. I don't think, playing Nick Orenstein on Broadway. So.
It was her first movie, right? Was it not?
It was her, yes. And she won an Academy Award.
Okay, 1993. So she is 28. All right, I'm wrong. She looks very young. She's very youthful.
You're thinking about Booksmart.
Yeah, she was young then. Greenblatt's is closing. Okay, so for those of you who are not from LA, I know how much you love our like hyper local geography segment here on the news hour. Greenblatt's is this longtime deli on Sunset Boulevard.
95 years.
Across the street from the Directors Guild. It's on Sunset, just west of Fairfax. So if you have to go
by the Laugh Factory. By
the Laugh Factory, if you have to go to a screening at the DGA.
Outfest would be happening at the DGA. We'd go eat at Greenblatt's all the time.
Right. And so it's closing. It's very sad. And I interviewed Charlie Hunnam there. That was like his office. There was like a little upstairs part where he would go upstairs and drink tea and write and hide.
Oh, well, if we're going to name drop, Dave and I had our last meal there with Leonard and Alice Malton like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, was Greenblatt's crowded?
No, and that was the scary part. Like we were sitting in a booth downstairs, and Dave goes, "This is the first time I've ever been here where there wasn't a line at the deli counter." So I guess I should have seen this coming, but it's very sad.
It is, and it wasn't just like a sit-down deli. They also had this great little like wine section and like little delicacies and treats and things you could buy. So it was sort of like a gourmet market, as well as like a sit down and have a giant bowl of matzo ball soup kind of deli. So very sad. Speaking of restaurants, Jose Andres is going to require proof of vaccination at all of his restaurants.
Good
for him. Chrissy Teigen has some weird like honey mustard dipping sauce, and she made a documentary about fries to go with it.
Well, the documentary about fries is produced by the condiment label Sir Kensington, which is owned by Unilever. So this is basically a very elaborate commercial for sauces.
It's like an infomercial.
Yeah.
For fries and the sauce. Does this make you want to buy it? Like, does the fact that Chrissy Teigen's name is on it, like, is she no longer toxic? She can sell honey mustard sauce again?
I don't know that I ever consume honey mustard sauce, but I've had some Sir Kensington stuff in the past, and it's pretty good. They make
mustard sauce is good.
They make
fries.
They make a pizza ranch, like it's a ranch dressing that has like oregano and fennel, red pepper in it.
Pizza ranch. Anyway, for your consumption, Robin is bisexual.
Hooray.
Let's talk about this.
Tim
Batman
Drake,
sidekick.
Yes, apparently.
The third Robin.
Right, is going to Date a boy soon.
Yes.
Sure, great. Why not? I'm all for more representation. And the last time I was reading comics seriously was probably in the 90s, and the Tim Drake Robin book back then was actually pretty good.
Yeah, the Tim Drake character is fun because Batman takes him on because he's figured out who Batman is. He figured out that Batman is Bruce Wayne. It's like, well, all right, I guess I better train you.
Oh.
Unlike the last guy who the Joker killed.
Right. But now he's alive and he's the Red Hood, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan Murphy is going to do a whole bunch more series.
I thought Ryan Murphy's Netflix deal meant he was leaving FX. What's the deal there?
Now there's like American love story about JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette.
Okay,
that's
great.
Dangerously close to Love American Style coming back.
It is.
Well, they've got American Sports Story, which everyone's going to abbreviate as ass. So
that's so true. Oh, that's so unfortunate.
Hey, have you seen Ass?
It's about Aaron Hernandez.
Well, yes, I have.
Ass is so good this week.
Right? That was like when Snatch came out. Hey, have you seen Snatch yet? Please, I'm only 12.
I love Snatch.
That's the question.
Matt, you had some ideas too. AMC is going to accept Bitcoin.
Yeah.
What does that mean? If the movie theaters are closed and you spend your Bitcoin there, does it make a sound?
Yeah. So the news from AMC this week is they've also agreed to the 45-day window Warner Brothers has also agreed with AMC that they'll do a 45-day window. So that means they won't be doing the day and date releases like they just did with
starting in 2022.
Starting in 2022, I believe. Okay. So they will have movies in theaters, and then 45 days they'll put them on HBO Max. AMC also said that they'll start accepting Bitcoin in 2022. I hope that in 2023 they accept Monopoly money.
Here, I baked a pie. Let me in.
And then in 2024 they'll accept Gelt. So
we're going to start bartering with chickens and pies.
Yes.
Back to the old days.
The other news stories I picked up this week. For those that follow the news about the Powerpuff Girls live action series that had been in development, apparently the pilot was so bad that Chloe Bennett has left. Chloe Bennett, she's a Asian pop star and had starred in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and she was going to play Blossom, and she has said goodbye because apparently it's terrible.
How do you fuck up a Powerpuff Girls show that badly?
So I guess the story
making a live action.
Well, also casting adults, and it's like them as the initial rumors about the story is they were like burned out adults that like their childhoods had been stolen, and they like were miserable.
The Powerpuff broads.
Exactly. The other good news for next year, Dolly Parton will be publishing a novel, and there will be an album to accompany it.
Nice.
So great.
We need more Dolly in our lives.
Why not?
Clearly.
This is interesting. This is an interesting combination of stuff that I'm about to say to you here. Gurinder Chadha is going to do a Bollywood Aardman movie.
Okay.
All right. Alonso is pondering.
I'm open to that.
It sounds interesting. I mean, they pretty much everything that Aardman puts out is pretty great.
Yeah,
and charming.
Except for that soccer one.
The soccer one.
The soccer one with the caveman. That was
fun.
Oh yeah, that wasn't
cute.
very good.
No.
That was not very
good.
Go
back and watch it now that we've been watching Ted Lasso, though. I bet it'll be funnier.
You know so much more now. Jennifer Lee, Frozen director and Pixar co-chief Jennifer Lee, married Alfred Molina.
Oh.
Last weekend.
All right.
A small ceremony.
Met him at a festival once. He was super charming.
Is she now Jennifer Lee Molina?
Maybe. That makes sense. She's whatever she wants to be.
Exactly.
She runs Pixar. So there's that. Marky Post died.
Yes.
Sad news.
Yes.
That's it. I know her mainly from Night Court. What else do we know?
She was on Hearts. She was also on Hearts of Fire with John Ritter.
And I think she was also on The Fall Guy, wasn't she? Like
she was like, yes. Yeah. And weirdly enough, that same day, I've been doing Mondays on Deck the Hallmark. We talk about vintage non-Hallmark made for TV Christmas movies. And I was watching this movie called Christmas on the Bayou that Marky Post was in, and so was Ed Asner. And at one point during the movie, I looked at Twitter, and Ed Asner wrote this really nice tweet about Marky Post because they had both been on Hearts of Fire. So it's just like this weird confluence of things.
That's somebody that they should have made a guest host for Jeopardy.
Ed Asner?
Ed Asner.
He's great.
That'd be funny. Anyway, that's all I have for you for news.
All right. Well, that's, you say it like it's nothing. That was plenty. That was a half an hour's worth. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on at BeFast All Day on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And it's a great time to go look at our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. The aforementioned Ted Lasso we are recapping, and this week it's the Christmas episode, and it's a doozy. And because our subscribers voted on it for us, our off the menu selection is From Here to Eternity, which we'll be discussing. And we are taking the next 2 weeks off. So, have some chill August times without us, and we'll be back in September. Everybody be nice. Everybody take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.
And wear your mask.
Bye.
Yes.